Welcome back, everyone, to the deep dive. This time, we're really focusing on something I think a lot of you are going to find super interesting: the power of saving money.
Yeah, I think a lot of people struggle with saving.
We're constantly bombarded with messages about investing, getting those big returns.
Absolutely.
But
It's
today,
all about maximizing your gains.
we're going to dive into a different perspective. We're exploring Chapter 10, Save Money, from Morgan Housel's book, The Psychology of Money.
Great book.
Yeah, and in this chapter, Housel actually argues that saving money could be even more crucial to building wealth than investment returns.
He really flips the script on how we usually think about building wealth, yeah.
Right. So we're going to uncover some surprising ideas about how saving isn't just about those numbers. It's also about psychology, control, and even adapting to this ever-changing world that we live in.
Absolutely.
Ah.
And a lot of people don't think about those psychological factors.
No, they don't. So let's dive right in. One of the most intriguing arguments that Housel makes is that building wealth is more about your savings rate than, like I was saying, your investment returns.
Yeah.
He uses the 1970s oil crisis as an analogy. Can you elaborate on that a bit?
Yeah, so back in the 70s, the world was in a panic. Everyone was worried about running out of oil.
Oh, yeah.
And, the common thinking was, we got to find more oil. That's the only solution, right?
Yeah.
But what actually happened was we became more efficient with the energy we already had.
So instead of focusing on just earning more, we should be thinking about making the most of what we already have.
That is a great way to put it, yeah.
Yeah.
It's about that efficiency.
Okay.
The U.S. is actually a perfect example of this. Today, we use 60% less energy
Wow.
per dollar of GDP than we did back in 1950.
That's a huge amount.
It's massive, right? And that's not because we just magically found all this oil. It's because technology has allowed us to become way more efficient with our energy.
And so how does this energy efficiency analogy apply to, our listeners, our personal finances?
Well, think of it this way. Your spending habits. Think of those as your personal energy consumption.
Yeah.
So by being more frugal and mindful of where your money's going, you essentially become more energy efficient with your finances, right?
Mm-hmm.
This gives you way more control over your finances than just trying to chase those unpredictable market returns. It's about creating a system that works for you regardless of what's happening out there.
This makes a lot of sense, but not everyone believes they can save, and some even think they don't need to.
Yeah.
How does Housel address these perspectives?
Yeah, he actually breaks people down into three groups. You have those who save diligently, then you have those who believe they can't save,
Okay.
and then you have the group that thinks they don't need to save.
Because they're going to make it big in the market.
Right. They're relying on those big investment returns. They're going to hit it big. And Housel, he focuses on these latter two groups because he's challenging this idea that we need massive returns to build wealth.
So it's almost like he's suggesting that frugality and mindful spending can be more impactful than becoming like a master investor or something like that.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it.
Mm.
He argues that the control we have over our savings rate is often really underestimated.
And that's something we have total control over.
100% control. Yeah. For example, if you're content with a less extravagant lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
you actually need less money to achieve those financial goals, even if your investment returns are lower.
Right.
So imagine two people, they have the same net worth, but
Mhm.
one earns, let's say, 8% returns while the other earns 12% returns.
Okay.
But because the person with the lower returns has designed their life to need less, they actually end up reaching their goals faster.
It's interesting because it challenges this idea that we constantly need to be striving for more, more, more. Is Housel advocating for, settling for less?
Not at all, no. It's about understanding the difference between what you really need and what you want.
Okay.
It's about recognizing that contentment and a mindful approach to spending can lead to greater financial freedom and, in turn, more options in life.
So this concept of choosing contentment over, constantly wanting more really resonates with me. But I'm curious about the psychology of all this. Why do some people feel this constant need to spend lavishly?
Yeah, that's a great question. And Housel, he addresses that as well. He points out that, beyond our basic needs, a lot of our spending is fueled by ego. We want to impress others.
Oh, yeah. Keep up with the Joneses.
Exactly. We buy those expensive cars, clothes, bigger houses, not because we really need them, but because we want to project a certain image.
It's like we're trying to keep up with the Joneses, even if it means, sacrificing our financial well-being in the long run.
Yeah, it's a common trap. And Housel's message here is really empowering. He suggests that by caring less about what others think
Okay.
You'll naturally desire less. This leads to less spending and more saving without feeling like you're missing out.
That's a powerful shift in perspective. So it's not about deprivation. It's about aligning your spending with what truly matters to you. But what about the argument that, like, there's no point in saving if your returns are low? We hear that a lot.
Yeah, and that brings us to Housel's concept of the unseen return on savings. Let's say you have a savings account with a low interest rate. On the surface, it might not seem impressive.
Right.
But what it really provides are options.
Okay, I'm intrigued. What kind of options are we talking about here?
Well, think about it. Having savings gives you the flexibility to maybe change careers or take a lower-paying job that you find more fulfilling, or even just wait for that perfect investment opportunity to come along instead of jumping on the first thing you see. These options, they're incredibly valuable, but they're often overlooked.
So it's about having that financial safety net that allows you to make bolder life choices. I like that.
Exactly. Savings give you control over your time, which is arguably the most valuable asset we have. And this becomes even more crucial in today's hyper-competitive world.
Okay, yeah, I definitely want to hear more about that. How do savings factor into this hyper-competitive landscape that we're all navigating?
Well, Housel describes this shift from a hyper-local world to a hyper-connected one. He cites economist Robert Gordon, who observed that intelligence used to be limited by geography. The smartest person in your town was probably the smartest person you'd ever meet.
Makes sense, yeah. But how does that relate to us today?
Well, think about it. You're now competing with a global talent pool. Intelligence alone isn't enough. You're up against potentially millions of people worldwide who are just as smart, if not smarter than you are.
Yeah, wow. That's a bit of a wake-up call. So how do savings give us an edge in this environment?
Well, in a world where everyone has access to information and opportunities, flexibility becomes a key differentiator. Savings provide that fuel for flexibility. They allow you to take risks, learn new skills, and seize those opportunities that others might miss because they're tied down by, financial constraints.
So it's not just about keeping up with the Joneses anymore. It's about having the financial freedom to create your own path, to take advantage of opportunities as they come up.
You got it. That's the power of saving. And honestly, we're just scratching the surface here.
This is already so insightful. We've covered a lot of ground, but I'm sure there's even more to unpack.
Absolutely.
So we just scratched the surface of how savings can give you like a real advantage in this hyper-competitive world. It's about more than just having money in the bank, right?
Right. It's that freedom. It's that flexibility that comes with knowing that you're okay financially.
Yeah, that peace of mind. Okay, so we've talked about the why of saving. Now let's get practical. Let's talk about the how. What are some practical steps that people listening can take to really prioritize saving in their own lives?
Well, I think it all starts with a mindset shift.
Yeah.
Instead of just focusing on chasing those big investment returns, think about what you can actually control. Your savings rate.
Okay.
You have complete control over how much you're saving. Zero control over how the market performs.
So instead of stressing about things we can't control, like interest rates or market fluctuations, we should be concentrating on what we can control, which is our spending habits, right?
Exactly. Take charge.
Yeah.
Start by honestly assessing, your needs versus your wants.
Okay.
Are there areas where you could cut back without sacrificing your quality of life?
Yeah.
Think about how much of your spending is driven by external pressures.
Yeah.
Like keeping up appearances.
Wait, do you need that new car or are you just trying to impress somebody?
Exactly. Yeah. And think about it almost like a mental decluttering exercise.
Okay, I like that.
Right. We get rid of that excess baggage.
Both physical and mental.
Both physical and mental. Yeah. To free up space for what truly matters.
And it goes back to what we were talking about with ego too, right? When you care less about what others think, you naturally desire less.
Absolutely.
And that makes saving a whole lot easier.
It's a domino effect. Less ego, less desire, less spending, more saving.
I love that. But what about if you don't have a specific savings goal in mind? Does Housel address that?
He does. And he makes a very interesting point about it, actually.
Okay.
He argues that you don't necessarily need a specific reason to save.
Okay.
Of course, a lot of people save for, a down payment on a house, a new car, retirement.
The usual suspects, yeah.
Right. But Housel suggests that saving for saving's sake is just as valid and maybe even more important in today's world.
Okay, so that's kind of like a new idea, right?
Yeah.
Why would saving without a specific goal be more important?
Well, think about it. Having a specific savings goal only really makes sense in a world that's predictable.
Okay.
The reality is our world is anything but predictable. Stuff happens. Unexpected events pop up all the time. And if your savings are all tied to one specific goal, you might find yourself,
Scrambling.
scrambling when life throws a curveball.
So it's almost like having this reserve, this financial energy that you can tap into whenever you need to, regardless of the circumstances.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Housel refers to this as the hidden return on savings.
Yeah.
It's that intangible, sense of flexibility, control over your time.
Yeah.
That comes from knowing you have a financial cushion.
Yeah.
It's the ability to maybe change careers, take that lower paying but more fulfilling job, or just weather a financial storm without, panicking.
It sounds like such a powerful antidote to anxiety in an uncertain world.
It really is. And remember when we talked about how savings can help you take advantage of opportunities that other people might miss?
Yeah, absolutely. That was a big aha moment for me.
Well, this ties right into that. So imagine a once-in-a-lifetime investment opportunity pops up, but it requires, you need capital up front. If you've been diligently saving, even without a specific goal in mind, you're in a position to act. But if you're living paycheck to paycheck, right, or if all your savings are tied up in things that are hard to, access quickly,
right,
you might have to just watch that opportunity pass you by.
You snooze, you lose, as they say.
Exactly. It's like the financial equivalent of luck favors the prepared mind.
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, you create your own luck by just being ready to act when the right opportunity comes along.
So this is making me rethink my entire approach to saving. We often focus on the tangible benefits.
Yeah.
Yeah. That down payment on the house, the dream vacation, or early retirement. But Housel is kind of emphasizing that the intangible benefits might be even more powerful.
He is, yeah. He argues that those intangible benefits of saving, that sense of security, flexibility, control over your time,
right,
can have a bigger impact on your overall happiness than, any material possession ever could.
It's a powerful reminder that true wealth isn't about how much money you have, but how much control you have over your life and your time.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
And that kind of control, it's priceless.
Yeah.
It allows you to pursue those passions, weather those storms, and seize opportunities that really align with your values.
So this has been an eye-opening conversation for me. I'm starting to see saving in a whole new light, but I have one final question. If saving is so crucial, especially in today's world, why aren't more people doing it? What's holding everyone back?
That's a great question. And it really brings us back to the psychology of money.
Okay.
There are a lot of factors that play into why it can be so difficult to prioritize saving.
And that's where we'll pick up in the final part of our deep dive into the power of saving.
Yeah.
So we left off talking about how there's a psychological side to saving that makes it so much more than just crunching numbers.
It really is, yeah. There's some real mental hurdles that we got to get over to really prioritize saving.
Yeah. So what are some of those mental hurdles that prevent people from saving more?
Well, I think one of the biggest ones is just our wiring. We're wired for that instant gratification.
Mm-hmm.
As humans, we tend to overvalue immediate rewards and undervalue those long-term benefits.
Yeah, it's hard to think long-term sometimes.
It is.
Wow.
And saving requires, delaying that gratification.
Right.
And that's a struggle.
It's that classic, small reward today or a much bigger reward later, but it takes so long to get there.
Exactly, yeah. It's a battle between, our present self and our future self.
Right.
And then on top of that, you have, FOMO, the fear of missing out.
Oh, yeah, the fear of missing out.
Especially in today's world with social media.
Yeah.
Constant comparison. It's easy to feel pressured to keep up with the trends, the experiences, even if it means going into debt.
Right. We're constantly bombarded with images of people who are, seemingly living their best lives, which makes us feel like we need to spend money to be happy.
It's a really powerful influence.
Yeah.
And, on top of that, we have all this marketing all around us telling us we need to buy certain things to be successful, to be attractive.
To be cool.
Yeah, to fit in, to be cool. And that creates this psychological pull that can make saving,
Feel like a burden.
Yeah, it feels like you're sacrificing.
Right, you can't participate.
Exactly, yeah.
So it's almost like we're conditioned to believe that happiness can be bought.
In a way, yeah. And that's what makes Housel's message so refreshing. He reminds us that true happiness comes from, having control over your life, your time, and your choices.
Having that agency.
Yeah. And that kind of control often starts with having a solid financial foundation.
So it's not about like depriving yourself. It's about investing in your future freedom.
It is,
I-
yeah. It's about recognizing that saving isn't just about accumulating money. It's about accumulating options.
Options, yeah.
It's about giving yourself the power to say yes to the things that matter most to you, even if those things, don't come with a big price tag.
Man, this has been an incredible deep dive. We've covered so much, from the importance of saving over investment returns to the psychological factors that can really hold us back. If you had to pick like the one key takeaway that you want our listeners to walk away with today, what would it be?
For me, the most important message is that saving, it's not just a financial strategy. It's a mindset shift. It's about recognizing that true wealth isn't measured by your bank account.
Right.
It's about how much control you have over your life.
Your time, your choices.
Exactly. And that kind of control, it can be incredibly empowering.
It's a really powerful idea. So instead of just focusing on chasing those big returns, we should be asking ourselves, how can I leverage the power of saving to create a life that's both financially secure and personally fulfilling?
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's about aligning your spending with your values and really prioritizing those things that truly matter to you.
Well, this has been an incredibly eye-opening conversation. Thank you so much for sharing all these insights with us today.
It was my pleasure. I always enjoy these conversations.
And to our listeners, we hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the psychology of saving. We encourage you to take what you've learned today and apply it to your own life. Start small, be consistent, and remember that even the smallest steps can lead to big results over time.